Hey, welcome back to Global Environment. We're talking about EROI, and we're going to try to apply this concept and best first to fossil fuels. Now, I've got a pretty interesting graph for you to look at right here. This shows the amount of oil that was discovered in the United States per year. And what you see that's pretty interesting is that most of the oil in the United States was discovered before 1940. We found very little since then. So here's a question for you. Here's a question. Which oil did we exploit first? We exploited the best oil first. So what are the characteristics of best oil? It would be close to the surface. It would be large reservoirs of the oil, not small little amounts. It would be not viscous. It would be easy to pump, and it would be low in sulfur. And if oil doesn't have those properties, you have to invest energy to make up the difference. Now, here's the other question. Because we did that, so what do we have left? We have junk. We have junk oil that takes more energy to use. Now, many people are under the misunderstanding that, boy, people say we're going to run out of oil, but we're not going to run out of oil. And that's true, but what is going to happen is we're going to run out of oil that's worth using. And I'll give you an example. In Louisiana, 50 years ago, you'd invest 1 barrel of oil for drilling and pumping, and you would get about 100 back. Good deal. You invest 100 back. Around 1970 in Louisiana, you'd invest 1, you get 30 back. Now you invest 1, and you get 3 back. Think about it. What happens when you invest 1 and you get 1 back? You might as well just leave it there. That is why EROI and best first are so important for understanding resource use. Now let's look at another graph, and this shows the cost over time. And this is already, outdated. We're up over $100 per barrel as I speak here. So this translates into increased costs. Now this shows oil and gas and the EROI for it in Louisiana. And you can see that for EROI for gas and oil in Louisiana, we see declining energy return on investment because we've used the best first. Does it work for coal? You bet it does. This is the EROI for coal production. Went up for a while and then it declined. We got it to go up a bit. How did we do that? We changed the regulation so you could blow up the tops of mountains into valleys and extract the coal that way. So sometimes, I won't say it's impossible, you can turn around EROI, but generally at very huge environmental costs. All right, how about ores and other materials? Well, I'll give you the example of copper. You can see this is copper production over time in the United States. You can see that it's risen. Well, it rose for a while. But this is the grade of ore. It's declined because we've used the best, the most concentrated ore first, and it goes down, 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 down. Now, it's interesting because this translates into energy because as you go down in ore grade, the difference in the energy you have to invest to purify the metal increases not linearly, but exponentially. So you can see how that could change in EROI. This is really kind of frightening, but it's some preliminary work that Dr. Charlie Hall at ESF has done looking at the energy return on investment for world oil. And they've used different estimates because there's not an oil police that can tell us exactly how much is being pumped all around the world. So they used different estimates. And what they found, which was surprising, that even in the 1990s, the EROI for oil was still close to 100 to 1. You invest 1, you get 100 back. But what was also interesting is how fast this was starting to decline. And you can see we get to 1 to 1 in the very near future if this data is right. And it's something we have to pay close attention to because we're so dependent on oil. Now the last graph here, this looks complicated too, but I'm going to break it down for you. On the y-axis, we have energy return on investment for different types of energy sources that we see here in these bubbles. And down here we have the amount of each one of those energy sources that is available. This is our capacity, and this is our EROI. Now, what are we trying to get to? We're trying to get over here. You know, this is a couple years old. It's moved up a bit. But we are using, in the United States, almost, actually now over 100 quads of energy. And you'll say, what is 100 quads of energy? A quad is a quadrillion BTUs, and that doesn't mean anything either. But if you compare it with something, if you compare it with photosynthesis in the United States, so the photosynthesis that all the green plants, all the energy that the green plants capture in the United States, all the front lawns, all the agriculture, all the trees, all the bushes, everything, you put that all together, you get less than 80 quads. Some people say 30 quads. So we're way over that. And that is a challenge because we have to keep up here to keep our economy chugging along. So how are we going to do that? Because we're using a lot of imported oil now. We used to have our own oil that had a great EROI. We used that up. It was the best. And then we got down here in the 70s, and now here we are. Okay, is it natural gas? Okay, EROI, decent capacity. This is declining too. Coal, kind of dirty, still has a good EROI. Willow biomass, not high in capacity. Wind, maybe. Nuclear, maybe. Corn to ethanol, it might have an energy return on investment of less than 1, which makes it pretty useless. I mean, that's what David Pimentel says. So we have a lot of challenges. What are we going to find? What plan are we going to put together that keeps us up here and potentially keeps us growing? That's one of the biggest challenges for this century. Where are we going to be headed if we can't keep the energy rolling in with good EROI and sufficient capacity? So we're going to stop there, but what I've showed you through these examples all the way through is that EROI rules the world. Best first rules the world. You can't think about, you have trouble thinking about anything that these concepts don't have an impact on. So remember that for the rest of the course because we'll keep coming back to these concepts. Have a nice day.